Peace. Let's wait till certain people here see, and I'll go into some issues that seem to be pressing. I didn't know. It's, all right. Let's see how everybody is doing. Okay. All right. Let me know who's in here. Any questions you may have. Only have 2 classes left this year. I think my next class is going to be a lot about planning. I don't think I'm going to go through, you know, holidays too much today, Christmas and things like that. The way I built about Thanksgiving this year, it was certainly from a flow of burnout where I certainly feel like the last man standing. I am not, but it feels that way because as we get older, my generation, as I get older, um, we have to get used to the idea of seeing ourselves as the only ones upholding a principle. Sometimes it's holding a principle because it's difficult. It's the poor righteous teacher part. It's the sacrifice. And when it comes to this Christmas thing, I would hope that you let your children enjoy the festivities with education. Let them enjoy the beauty of a Christmas tree as they see it outside. Make your decisions. It's one thing to show them stuff outside that's beautiful. I'll treat it like watching and appreciating other people's cultures. They certainly deserve gifts. I think all children deserve gifts at the end of the year, whatever calendar year you want to use. They have earned gifts at the end of the year, certainly, right? Um, Enjoy the arts. Right? Christmas is an interesting holiday because there's so much invested into it that it is able to ingeniously absorb the energy of goodwill, the energy of renewal, right? New Year's, all that. Um, Energy of sharing and giving, receiving, thankfully. It really is quite ingenious, the whole thing, you know? And I'm looking for them now. I haven't found it but I really, I think it would make, you know, Ishaka Musa Barashango wrote books about all holidays and really broke it down. But I would love to see a definitive book about just the Christmas season, the ingenious of it, the idea of fixing things. And, like when we talk about, we can learn a lot from Christmas because when you talk about something that needs repair, something that needs to be done better, if you really study the history of Christmas as it is today and how it became this way, it's a study of fixing and constant, it's a tradition, but it's a constant fixing of the tradition. There's constant adding on and adding on and adding on. It didn't leave it like that. When it wasn't when they were savage, they got rid of some things and they gave you something else. So they were always fixing, you know. All right, I'm just trying to answer my text message so I can freely by the time I finish this class and get to where I'm going tonight, it's going to be too late to get the said answers out. But I have, some of the gods, my brothers was having a conversation, and I came up in the conversation, and certain things that I have said were wildly misconstrued. And it's interesting because I don't soundbite. I don't say things that just sound, you know, that just sound appropriate. I give detail to certain questions. But when it comes to Christmas, a lot of it was done to repair the savagery that was going on. The devil being a savage, wilding out, having no decorum, just going really wild with the whole Saturnalia, rape and pillage for the whole month type of thing. And the little safeguards in Christmas, the transfer of Christmas being a children's holiday, the appropriation of old tales like that are appropriated into Santa Claus. It's just it's a lot of cleverness that the genius of the Christmas spirit from Charles Dickens' Scrooge novel. You know what I mean? So it turns the person that continues to bloodsuck during the fourth quarter, which is Christmas time, and all seasons, the robber baron, right? The devilish landlord, the devilish, business owner, right? The owner of all the capital. It puts him in a wonderful light, and it puts the Christmas spirit as a force that conquers that. And it puts us back into the position of saying that we have to get gifts. It's just a genius. The way it all worked out, and I just as a historian though, I admire all that shit. It leads to a massive amount of culture as far as music and songs, right? Puerto Rico has its own Christmas genre. Really, Aguinaldo music is really Jibaro folk music. And it has its elements of song and everything in it subtly in there. But Aguinaldo really ends up being a Christmas folk music, a specific genre, let alone the massive amounts of Christmas music, of albums and all those other things. It's just intriguing, the cleverness, of the way Christmas is brought forth, Let me know you're here. CI, peace God. Self I build, peace to the God. All right. Yeah, so let me this was something that was brought up. I just want to mention it. So it's at the beginning. And I want to bring up two things, just real quick because people argue. And I want to bring up this thought. And maybe people in the comments in this chat can tell me what they think about it. If not, if you're watching this later, please put your comments in the in the video comments. But first thing is this, right? Somebody was saying, and they obviously were going at it because I'm Puerto Rican. I'm trying to draw out that I don't agree, that I don't favor Black Americans having reparations. Like this was said that I said that, and I always get disappointed though when people misquote me, terribly, terribly. To go out there and say that you're the God and you have this knowledge, and you just get. Sunez says that Black Americans shouldn't have reparations. It shows me that like you already failed doing the knowledge, because when it comes to serious issues, this is a very serious issue. There's no way that I would have such a basic, simpleton, blanket statement like that. And in the essence, though, I never said that. In fact, I said quite the opposite. All right. And if you think reparations are just physical money, then you're looking at this economy and the way that things go as a baby economy. I want to give you a story. I'm reading The Shock Doctrine. So a book I've always wanted to read, and I never got to reading it. It's a great history of neoliberalism and the conquering of neoliberalism, led by Milton Friedman, that devil. And that neoliberalism is really like Reaganomics, all that, because it's misnamed Reaganomics and all that. And basically, the conquering of things, right? Let me fix my shirt. I just pulled a button off my shirt. But I'm reading it. I read a chapter on South Africa, and I was seeing how, Nelson Mandela often is seen as a legend, revolutionary, who kind of sold out in his last days. And when you read the history that is given in that book by Naomi Klein, it's a lot more detailed and nuanced than that. Yes, I think that he resigned. That's a good word, resigned, and really felt that he couldn't get things across, and for all intents and purposes, let it go. But the real research is not just to call people sellouts, and you don't get much out of that. The real detail was in how they were resigned, like they actually were not going to win. All the laws were changed so that way when they ever tried to make any of the revolutionary freedom charter that they had written, all the laws had been changed where you can't even do that. So everything that was privatized couldn't be nationalized, and everything was just stuck the way it was. And the devil's really in the details there, And when I talk about reparations, it's kind of in the same vein. I don't favor just monetary reparations. I think what has been taken from the original man here is not just money, and in such a measure as money is going to be something that fluctuates. That if you give every Black American a certain amount of money, that money itself will be devalued and not be worth much sooner than later. So my issue has always been, right, that the Black American deserves, merits, and needs reparations of real capital. That's what I said. That's what I've been saying. I even have a song I did on the third album I did with King Kamal, right? Burn Silk and Bless Builds. Let me see what the name of that song is. I'm literally looking it up because this came out last year, and this is the lyrics. This is the lyrics. Okay, so I even put it in the song. And yet people want to quote me, and they misquote me horrifically. Right? Let's see. I'm looking for it now. It's a song I did called "What If," right? And let me see. I said, skill is straight to decimate, eradicate deeds of hate, unprick pins of sins, bring kin to wins, devalue stock that stock, sweatshops, them cops, false chops, alt crops, respect fake flops, IMF debts to stop, no reparation lump sums, just Mansa Musa trust funds. You know what? And that's kind of what I really see it like. We could get a lump sum, but it's going to be devalued. The Black American needs real capital. When I said Mansa Musa trust funds, I mean something that grows, something that develops, investments, land, immediate land, massive amounts of land, and the ability to work the land. No blockades to it, no devalued lands, right? And just see Native American treaties all over again, right? But it's funny because I've spoken about this in detail. So it's really something that people that just want to take the wrong thing out of it, because you could never really misquote me on this. I've never spoken about this like and said it blankly and said, oh, Black Americans shouldn't get any reparations. You know, I said that they shouldn't just get money. And even if you just quote that, that means I'm not saying they shouldn't get money. I'm saying that they really need real capital. So if you give them lump sums, you're going to have to give it of a value that is extreme. And I think that Black Americans need individual, but they also need time. Black Americans merit the time to define their communities. And then the communities also receive reparations. Let me explain. Not just Black Americans getting reparations only. If you're going to give them lump sums, lump sums. But then now Black Americans deserve the time and to be given the time to define their communities. Whether through organizations, it could be, obviously, you're going to get the church in there. You're going to get other organizations. Maybe you get Nation of Gods and Earths, right? Maybe Sunnis don't get no money, right? Everybody gets money but me. If we're going to get like that, right? I'm good if they just give back Puerto Rico, right? Give it back to Boricuas. But seriously, organizations, community define themselves, and under certain law, reparations are given to jumpstart, to invest into specific communities under the control of those communities. This is not easy. This is easier, not easier said than. This is easier said than done. You know. But there has to be something of real investment. You just can't give somebody 20 G's, you know, and then say, listen, all of the strides that are made are over. We don't have to do anything else. We could keep streamlining. We could keep gentrifying. We could keep doing this. I mean, that's where it gets ridiculous. It ends up being like a payoff to just Black Americans be okay that they get to continue to, you know, whites are here and they're here and they just continue here. You know, well, we gave you some money and you rise up here, but as a community, it won't rise up here. Individual money is just going to be used individually, and it'll make people, but who will really know how to invest it? How much power in the community will it give? Right? So this is the problems that I have with that. Self-I build, you said you get massive amount of hate, Lord. I do. Oh, I do. It's getting me sleepy. Maybe if you was charcoal black, it would be minimal. Sad to say, colors, it was a pin many have yet to remove, accompanied by the makes us think we're we are different mentality. Yeah, unfortunately. Self-I built, you said useful land. Yeah, something like that. You know what I mean? And just like in Fidel's Cuba when he took over, this would take a redistribution. And that's why people are all like, oh, just give us lump sum, this and that. But even the people that hoop and holler for it, like Tariq Nasheed and others that do nothing really for it that has been worthwhile, all you get is a hoop and hollering for some money. And even that is not getting there. And that's why maybe somebody, if they misheard me or if they just soundbited me, which would have been a real terrible job to soundbite me when I give lengthy answers to everything. Even if you're soundbited, it's like the money has to be good. You can't just give somebody money, right? Are they going to get some real worth? So anyway, that's the thing. That is really the thing, right? And it was some of the gods that I know, and I'm like, yo, you know me, like you couldn't text me while you were having this conversation and say, yo, Sunez, how you see? Nah, it just was left like that, you know. Like, how much do I have to lecture? How much do I have to write? And yet still be misquoted incorrectly. You know what I mean? You know, even my books, I give out the lyrics free. When I do my albums, the lyrics are out there free. Like, you can't misquote me. If you do it, you're doing it on your own. You know what I mean? It's just disappointing, you know, because everybody that deals with reparations has to agree with what I'm saying. You know, there's no way around it. We know that a lump sum, though, and then you're going to tell me 20, 20, 25, 30. Let's say a year's salary of a year's median salary, like a respectable salary, 50,000, 56, 60. Yeah, because, you know, what it really would be. Are people going to get more than 1 year's worth of salary? And then do what with it? Do what with it? You know, there has to be some land. There has to be some community building. You know, there has to be a real value for that that's given. Real capital. What was stolen from the black man was not bucks. It was capital. His mental and his physical capital. People only know the physical capital, the mental capital. Royalties for all of these inventions that were made. Where's the royalties? Where's the dividends? All the companies that make guitars, handguns, doorknobs, elevators. I'm just naming a few. Bottle caps, screwed on bottle cap. Whatever black people didn't get paid for, these royalties need to go out. Right? Nah, reparations, you give us some bucks though, and then it's that's not acceptable. And that's my point that I'm making. You know what I mean? And to make that right, it almost makes it impossible to make all of their other deeds right for a long time. And I'm okay with that because I think if it's done right, and the people that receive the reparations aren't just on some, well, I'm going to be like the white man now. Because that's what I see. 2024 has been a very difficult year for me in the disappointment that I've seen. I have seen so much colorism thrown my way. You know, we talk about the stuff I build, but I've seen so much colorism thrown my way. It has been ridiculous. I'm like, do you even have time to build with the way that you use your colorism against me? Do you even have time to build and make something? This is how intense it gets. And I'm like, we have very little knowledge of world economics, very little knowledge of the politics that goes into it. You know what I mean? That's all that's going into it, right? Right, geopolitics. I've with the elections, and I've really been studying a lot of the recent history of geopolitics, the U.S. empire, and there's so many new books that I got recently that are really powerful. You know, and right, so All right. I hear my little girl Alma's watching. I love you, Alma. It's always good to be respectful to our elders, right, Alma? Always respectful to me, always loving. Let's try to be like that to everybody. But yeah, you know. But it's important though, you know, the history of it. I'll tell you some of these books I've gotten recently. These are all brand new, you know. Um, I haven't even begun to read them because Shock Doctrine is about an 800-page book. So I've been really attacking that. I attack a very large books at the end of the year after I make my 52 books a year. And I'm way past 52 books. So I start to read large books. Now, if I could find it. All right. So there's this other book I got, United States of Distraction. That's about media manipulation to govern the globe by Alfred W. McCoy. The newest Noam Chomsky book with Nathan J. Robinson also writing, The Myth of American Idealism, How U.S. Foreign Policy Endangers the World. I got this interesting book called Raging 20s. We're talking about the 2020s. Great Power Politics Meets Techno-Feudalism by Pepe Escobar. And of course, there's a new book too, Invisible Doctrine, A Secret History of Neoliberalism. Great book. Even though I'm not happy with the way that it dismissed all of the vaccine talk as just conspiracy theory, which, you know, that was not logically done. I got this other book called The Indoctrinated Brain, a book from a few years ago called Democracy Incorporated. I got that because it gets quoted a lot by many scholars. Tip of the Spear, very good book. I'm reading that book, not finished with it. A new Robert Malone book, War, about psyops and all that, and the New World Order. That's by Robert and Jill Malone. So a lot of good stuff. Along with that, there's a lot of good stuff. You know. All right, peace to Program by Society. Peace. Yeah, Gary Null's very insightful. You know, like that's been my main health guru. He's always had the information. Even his politics, when he builds on politics, I can appreciate his angles. I don't think he, like most white people, he doesn't really get race completely. And he gets it wrong a lot, but it's very well intentioned. But his perspective is righteous. He's got a lot of great products too. I use a lot of them. They cost more, so you have to save up for them. But if you get his like vitamin C and stuff like that, when you can afford them, they're very, very good. Very good. I've used lots of his products. In fact, when I use neodymium magnets on my body, particularly like back, my legs, all that, to heal, that's a science I learned from him. So not only I bought a book that he wrote about it with a lot of references. I also bought the magnets he used to sell. He used to put them. They were like 3 strips of magnets that would be on leggings. Seriously, like you would wear it under your clothes. But the leggings, they broke all over. I got this in like 2003, so they broke a long time ago. But I still have the magnets and use them, you know. And often when I'm at home working, I sit on the magnets, and that's why a lot of times my leg circulation stays consistently good. Besides getting up, of course, you know what I mean. You got to get up and everything, right? But that's the thing right there. You know what I mean? So another thing, and I didn't bring my journal or nothing, and I don't have this book digitally, but one of the gods, my brother was giving the recommendation whether we should, the gods, we're not talking about 85, the gods, do a debate on whether Puerto Ricans were there at the beginning of hip hop, whether they are creators, because a lot of times this gets construed that if Puerto Ricans weren't there at the very first party, and I don't know how many years they talk about this, but if they weren't there for the first handful of parties, then they're not originators of hip hop. And I said this to the God, and this God is my brother. I love him. So this got nothing to do with him. I said I didn't, you know what? I'm going to read you the text. This way people know, you know, like I said, I've had a very I text him this. That a lot of this debate is just colorism and racism from so-called 5%. That's been my experience, easily countering the errors all year. All I saw this year was who still feels spics like me are okay if I stay in my place. And because of that, I have no desire to debate it. I've already laid everything out. And I'll say it again, though, so it's on the record again. So apparently, me being on the record, though, isn't insufficient for me being still sound bitten. You know what I mean? And I get sound bitten by the trolls, but now I get sound bitten by people that say that they have knowledge of self. Man, that's just ridiculous. You know?
That's why I got connected. Well, listen, I don't care. Shit. I'm just playing.
Yeah, I saw that with the crazy legs, Lord Jamal. I don't even click like or anything. I don't really beating up Lord Jamal. I wouldn't be very impressed with that, and it also doesn't really prove the point. Let alone he might deserve it, but it doesn't prove the point. I think what yeah, stuff I built, all the books that I mentioned about the politics, I have all of them. I could just email them to you, okay? So just, you know, email me and I'll get them to you. But the thing about it, right? The culture of hip hop is a hybrid culture. It blends in other things. So the minute that people start making music and then start they're dancing, the music is from other records, and so is the dancing. Okay, that's what people understand. And because of that, the dancing becomes extremely influential to how the music is played, and that's why the breakbeat becomes crucial. But people go, look, the first parties didn't have Puerto Ricans. I didn't see no Puerto Ricans, this and that. What needs to be counted is what moves did you make in the beginning as a dancer to define it as breaking? Those early parties didn't define breaking. And the more that you study, every single dancer, black, brown, yellow, white, whoever was at those parties, they all had Puerto Ricans on their mind. Because the roots of breaking are rocking and up rocking. The roots, the direct roots of breaking are rocking and up rocking. People want to show me videos. They always do this. They did this all through Instagram. And they try to trend. They go, look, breaking was here. And they show the Nicholas brothers. They show somebody old dancing. But the biggest root of breaking, which to me is the crucial foundational action that leads to the break being solidified, making breaking to me the lead action in making hip hop culture go. If those breakers don't break, there is no culture. And so what they decide to break is essential. And the dances that they were taking into it, we already was doing. Many credit Puerto Ricans with the hustle. Most of those dances in the early b-boy parties were the hustle, mixed with mambo, up top styles. But the main thing from the biker gangs that were mainly Boricua was the rocking, a confrontational style of dance where they would attack each other in lines, and that became the rocking that becomes the up rocking. But after that, the Brooklyn B-boys, in some works they credit Rubber Band and Apache. A lot of people, not everybody, they credit Rubber Band and Apache, two Boricuas, with coming up with adding it to up rocking in Brooklyn by adding the jerks, and the stops. And that leads to what we get into freezes, where you freeze. That's later. There's basic knowledge if you know B-boys, if you speak to them, if you do scholarship like excellent works like Foundation by Joseph G. Schloss, who also wrote a great book about sampling, right? It's in hip hop. These book, the Foundation book, I don't have it PDF. I don't have it digitally. But I do, you know, I've read it, written about it, studied it years ago. I read it again this year. And again, you know, all right. So, peace, Amma. How are you doing, Amma? Amma's on our mother's YouTube channel, communicating with me. I hope you're doing your homework, everything. She knows that that Papi doesn't deal with Christmas, mystery God, Jesus Christ being born, right? But she, like everyone else, can enjoy the cartoons, the music, and certainly the movies, and certainly earns herself gifts, right? All right, that's good. That's good. If you can, you read, or you could watch Papi for a little bit. I'm gonna be here till 8 o'clock, right? But again, for the b-boying to become breaking, all that changed was they stopped dancing to just the whole song and just the break. All the Bronx b-boys have to have been influenced somehow by the rockers and the up rock of Brooklyn. And that's Boricua. So if you want to say, oh, look, Puerto Ricans had nothing to do with it, though. You want to say we weren't even there doing it, which is not true. We were already in here, in your mind, doing it. For every single dancer, a Puerto Rican up rocking and rocking was in your mind. There's no way. There's no way. You're not going to show me Nicholas Brothers, and you're not going to show me stuff from 1930 when in 1968, they're rocking all over the boroughs and all the gangs are rocking and doing it exactly the way they do it today, the way they did it in the Olympics, everything. The way Boricuas dance is a foundation to hip-hop culture. That alone, I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to go back into the fact that polyrhythms in the actual drum, because all Black American music has polyrhythms in the horn section, in the piano playing, everything, but not in the percussion. Not in the percussion. And the way that Cubans, Puerto Ricans, the way they were playing it, though, was not being played like that. It was not. They didn't even have all of those drums. They were not doing rumbas. They were not doing any bomba, playing out, any of that. We also study other Latinos and study our African influences and our African heritage. You see rumba colombiana from Colombia. The Colombian rumba, they literally battle each other and they battle against the drum. And they compete against each other. We have a history of that, just like all Black Americans have a history of all this in there. Just like in music, we have a history of rhyming throughout all our genres, right? This is something, but where are they most likely rhyming from? It's most likely from the James Browns, and not, right? Don't show me 1938 Nicholas Brothers, 1940, when we were up rocking all over Brooklyn and throughout all the gangs, we were doing that. And then I have to hear people that have no research and they watch a 10-minute interview, 30-second clip from Charlie Chase talking about his personal realities. And that defines the entire culture, the entire thing. They couldn't tell you about Disco Wiz. They couldn't tell you how there are some that credit Puerto Ricans with the certain plates that were being used when they DJ'd. I mean, there's a lot of things that we created. And then others in this debate Like flat earther, wants to take away breaking, say breaking is not part of hip hop. It's only the music. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And see, people go, how come when the music started, Puerto Ricans weren't doing the music? The music only gets out on the recording level if whites sign it. The first ones to start signing people to do hip hop singles were the Jews in the Bronx. It didn't start with Sugar Hill Gang. That's the first one that blew up. There's many others signed. Jews weren't marketing no Puerto Rican. The Jews were already just like Fania, Jerry Masucci and Fania, right? With that Dominican great Johnny Pacheco and making Fania records though. The Jews were sticking with mining the salsa. It's crazy. It's crazy that we listen to people with lack of scholarship, sound biting, or we accept 10-second clips. You know what I'm saying? It's ridiculous. No research, no extended interviews. There's a book called Break Beats in the Bronx, done by a scholar. And he quotes books that I'm even referenced in, that I gave quotes to, and they still leave us out of there. And I'm like, yo, you skipped this page. You had this book and you skipped this page. You took out what you wanted out of the book. And scholarship has done this way before the illegitimate Jamars and all these people get on Instagram and start to give you histories of sound bites. Right? Asking questions like they're a judge and jury, though. No, sir. I only ask for a yes and a no. I only ask for a yes and a no, sir. Right? That's crazy. The early rockers and up rockers were biker gangs, Boricuas in there, and they were rocking. It was described often that they were doing mambo, dancing like mambo, which is really the early salsa because it wasn't called salsa, right? And son, but dancing in that fashion in a confrontational warlike way to rock music, right? So you could do something like Led Zeppelin's Whole Lot of Love. You could do it with that. You got, what else? They're doing it to rock music, right? Billy Squires, Big Beat, whatever have you. This Creedence Clearwater Revival, right? They have a lot of great records, right? All of this stuff. That's what was happening. The Black Americans add tons of stuff to it. It isn't breaking until they do certain things to it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that this is something where the roots of breaking are immediately Puerto Rican. And a lot of the moves that we see today, like windmills and a lot of other stuff, they were invented by Puerto Ricans. There are a lot of black breakers from the earliest days, pioneering days. And they say it was the Puerto Ricans that changed it because they went down on the floor. And yet it's going down on the floor that anyone will tell you is the definitive definition of breaking. The definitive definition of breaking is when you get down on the floor, and the Boricuas are getting credit for doing that. You need to stop with this damn division. It's disgusting. We finally have an Afro-diasporic culture, and they got to get in the way and say, no, it's not. I never see this energy. I never see this energy with Black Americans when the white man is right in front of them, no. Right? I don't see this energy except unless it was Amiri Baraka when they were trying to give jazz to Bix Beiderbecke Beck and Bill Evans, who's really a great, or Who's the other guy? The other pianist. I gotta get his name though, so y'all know. He's really dope too, though. I'll get his name though. Maybe giving him credit like he kind of made Dave Brubeck. I didn't even have to look it up. Dave Brubeck, right? We know that they get way too much credit for jazz. And they're not pioneers. They didn't create genres like Miles, right? Create ways of playing the way Coltrane did, etc., etc., etc. But I don't see blacks with that kind of energy for that. I don't see that kind of energy. They let the whites be great. And they, they let the whites be great. Bill Evans is great. Brubeck is really, really great. Bill Evans to me is amazing. I like Oscar Peterson better, but but I'm just saying. They're both great. I love listening to both of them. Right? I love Chet Baker. You know what I mean? I love Chet Baker. With the whole Jamar thing, I'm not gonna, he does his own thing. I really don't care because his arguments are babyish. He's not a scholar. Like, he's not scientific. He's not a scholar. We have to watch debates about the flat earth when he goes, oh, can't you tell? You could tell by just looking at the sky. Once someone says that, I'm like, nah. You know what? I'm nearsighted. I'm nearsighted. I ain't gonna tell nobody about what's 50 yards away. You know what I mean? Let alone hundreds of miles in the sky. Right? One of those backup dancers. Peace. Peace. They close you out. They close you outside. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Sorry about the interruption. All right, so listen. One of those dancers is the god DJ Talim too. You know what I mean? Seminal DJ in hip hop. Seminal DJ. Everybody goes with like what's a money ticket, and they're willing to put us in our place. You know what I mean? Because it's convenient. I won't have any of that shit. I won't have any of that shit. I've seen more colorism now toward me in this last year than I saw all the early years I was in the station. Because when people had colorism, though, they sincerely was incorrect about certain degrees and things like that. They really thought that about the lesson and thought that like the brown and the yellow was from the grafting process. Like these are mistakes in the build. That's not. I didn't take it all the time as colorism. I didn't take it like that. But I just think like a lot of stuff leads to colorism, and we can't be sloppy like that. Yeah, but I just wanted to make those things clear. You know what I'm saying? I mean, what about the massive influence that we have on music? You know what I mean? The polyrhythmic drumming. I mean, it can't be understated though. And people that I heard people go, but we've been drumming like that. I'm sorry, no, I don't. Even no matter how dope the funk is, that comes after. And I could play you stuff from the 40s, 1950s, Cuban song records that are more polyrhythmic than anything that you hear in the funk 70s. They had more of a mastery of the polyrhythms. It's hundreds of years they was doing it. Hundreds. People keep talking and they don't know music. They didn't study any music. They didn't study scholars that studied the music. They want to talk about music. You know what I mean? I just the same tone. Like the Allen Iverson tone with them. You know what I mean? Right? Y'all talk about practice? Right? That's what they sound like. Practice? I'm like that. Practice? Right? Y'all talk about music? Y'all talk about music? You don't know anything about music. The scope is small. You know what I mean? And I don't get Lord Jamal, like his musical history shows that he doesn't have the deep music. Look at all the lot of dope cuts Lord Jamal produced. But look at his crates. Look at his crates. Go back into the albums that he produced, Brand Nubian albums, because he did one of them though. Go back to the pro albums that he produced and the songs he produced. His crate game doesn't show a deep level of knowing music on a large scale. The way he speaks about music shows he doesn't know it, let alone culture. People need to stop being anecdotal. I don't want to hear that I grew up in the Bronx, man. Y'all will. Nah. That's anecdotal. That's anecdotal. That only serves you but a tiny speck. And you got to learn how to read these books that are supposedly scholarly when they're just basically collecting source material and conveniently quoting certain source material. And when I go into those books and I'm like, you quoted certain pages of source material, but I read the whole source material. And you didn't quote the whole thing. I'm reading the book Break Beats in the Bronx. I just say, you know what? Let me read that. I'm not finished with it yet. I skipped towards certain parts. Can read the whole thing, but I skipped to where it was talking about Puerto Ricans, why it's Black American now. And just because we faded from it and we weren't really in it in the beginning, and that's why, and this and that. As if it's a legitimate answer. As if something that is ours too wasn't stolen from us by the industry that wouldn't let us record, right? And because of the foundational element that we are most contributing to, it's very difficult to monetize. The closest that you could see it monetizes is in battles, showcases, right? And you don't see that. You still don't see programs where they go, yo, this season we have a reality show, b-boying competition season, right? You don't see that. So how is it monetized? People make classes and stuff like that, but that's about it. The closest you saw was the Olympics, though. And it took one bonehead white chick who's horrible and hilarious, too, to ruin that whole thing. Right? They didn't even, before it even ended, though, they didn't even plan on putting it in the next Olympics. Right? They're not even caring to monetize it because it's still core. Right? Stop separating what's sold and what really was, what really is. You know? That's crazy. It's crazy. But these are things I just wanted to address in detail because I'm being misquoted. And I feel like people want to misquote me so they could defend their colorism by showing that I'm some type of racist in some way. And you're fucking fooling yourself. And if you got knowledge of yourself, you need to fucking do the knowledge a little bit better, fucking better. That's for my brothers. That's for anybody in the nation. If you got knowledge of yourself and you're fucking grossly misquoting me, do the fucking knowledge better. It's not even saying it nicely. I'm saying it like this. Do the fucking knowledge better. That's in our supreme mathematics. Don't go misquoting me and shit as if like, yeah, I heard he. Don't go, I heard Sunez. Don't do that. I got a million things quoted perfectly, detailed perfectly, good English. Right? Lesson Ebonics, King's English, what have you. All in there. Scholarly, expert, all in there. Written, articles, books. You misquote me to say something that sounds bad. Get your shit right. Have a suspension, right? Have a suspension of belief in Sunez being not right and exact. Do yourself a fucking favor. Do yourself a fucking favor. All this whole year has been about people not dealing with the issues, but trying to deal with their damn feelings, though. Oh, but Sunez, don't you think that it's not fair that everything gets taken from Black Americans, this and that? That's a reason for you to claim that everything is yours without having no damn musical knowledge? That's a reason for you to be telling people about Puerto Rican histories, Dominican histories, Arabian histories, Indian histories, etc., by your anecdotal feelings? I hate being the last one stepped on and this and that. We're on the bottom and stuff. That's cry work. That's tear work. Save those cry bars for the blues. You know what I mean? Make a song with that. It's the end of 2024 and I'm still on this bullshit here. Definitively prove that we had a hand in creating this culture that I spent over half my life in. They go and they saw interviews. I was there when colleges and scholars were getting their dissertations done, interviewing them for days. Not an hour, not a podcast episode, right? For days. Like the old school when we did features and we spent a whole day with the guy. Corresponding for weeks until it's done. Getting to know the individual for real. Not getting a soundbite clip of misinformation. Personal life. That's crazy. You know, Ned Sublet is a hugely powerful scholar in Cuban music. Just like I was taught by many of the Latinos and a lot of the brothers that built up Latin music. I built with a lot of Latin musicians, from the high Willie Colon all the way down to many others. And Ned Sublet's work says actually sees Cuba as a musical foundation as potent as, let's say, the Black American foundation of jazz and the blues. Because me, people don't be asking me. I consider the jazz the root to all music. All music. You know what I mean? All music. It's all recorded music after jazz is rooted somehow in jazz. You know what I mean? But the other core, especially polyrhythmically, goes to Cuban song. And Ned Sublet talks about how the clave and all its variations are foundational, and there's even clarification that the clave, that tempo, is in all Black music as well. you know? So it's very interesting because, again, this is all coming from Africa, the same root. We're all from the same root. You know what I mean? And it's a shame that we're not seeing and continuing to take the opportunity to use this culture of hip hop to see that, yo, we're all the same. We're all rooted. We're all similar. We're rhyming from his, but you guys rhymed as well. You guys rhymed as well. No, we're not seeing that. We just gave into all the division. Yeah, I'm getting in trouble again if maybe, you know what I mean? The layers, you know what I mean? It's many layers. See how you said the greatest power of a lie is when it's ill-defined, it becomes a shapeshift, not defining hip-hop, the start and end dates of creation, or even defining creation, they can just say anything. Yeah, and and it wasn't for these young kids to define and say this is going to be this is going to be that. You know what I'm saying? But when you combine and you do proper scholarship on cultures and go through the oral histories and you start merging, you start to see differences, but there's such a foundation. And one of the major things you have to get, once you get everyone's compelling and different stories of those that were there, you're going to find that we were there and we was co-creating. This is foundational. You don't have breaking. If you don't have breaking, you don't have anything else. You don't have anything else. You don't have nothing distinct. It is monumental, and more so than other genres, because the music wasn't standing on its own. Remember, hip hop's music is not created. It is taken, especially the beginning. Right now, recorded hip hop music, it's its own distinct living thing to me. The art of the sample and the chop and the rearrangement, it is pure original production to me and creation, but not in the beginning. Not in the beginning. You're taking music in the beginning, so it's different, But if we don't start to see immediate history properly, how the hell are we supposed to talk about Kemet? Can't even get the histories right now correct. And I got to deal with people that have no record collection, that have heard no albums. They maybe heard like 10 jazz albums, 5 blues albums. And I got to hear about them telling me, they telling me about the funk and they don't know nothing about no polyrhythms, nothing. Come on. Thank you, 793. Those are some good ones too. Yes, some good ones too. The truth is that when it comes to breaking, we are co-creators. And that also includes in there that we are really the foundational predecessors to it. There ain't no breakers. There's no b-boys without rockers and the Brooklyn up rock. There's no way around it. No way around it. The confrontational up rocking, all of that, it's just no way around it. None at all. If you say so, you're fibbing. You are fibbing. Or you are poorly educated in music. Right? I agree with that. That freestyle dancing plays a large part in the evolution of the dance. Absolutely. Let's not forget, though, that even the major music selections, if you take I like the way Joseph G. Slash talks about it. If you take the major b-boy classics that are used to breakdance to, right? Like It's Just Begun, right? Apache, right? More songs than not in that canon, as he calls it, the canon, are all Latin percussion. They are Latin polyrhythms, even if you look in them, and they are not being played by Latinos. They are playing Latin polyrhythms. The Apache band, that was a brother in there, but I think maybe he was Panamanian. I can't remember. But even what's his name? Jimmy Castor. I forget where I read it though. But even Jimmy Castor says, listen, what Chase takes the song to makes it what it was is the Latin percussion we put in it. I didn't say that. The guy that made the song says that. But these are all conveniently left out. You know what I mean? This is an Afro-diasporic culture. Just like this nation is. No matter what. This nation. Right? The difference is that this nation's truth makes us Afro-diasporic by nature. But with that said, okay. All right. So I next week's class is the last of the year, and I would really like everyone to really detail for me what it is that they've been doing, what they feel they achieved during the year, right? Any thoughts on planning? Remember, we have supreme mathematics. We have to be supreme planners. This has to be part of the culture. You know what I mean? This is absolutely, you know? All right. All right. So next week, I would like to delve into planning what we could do. You know, we should do it. Yeah. I mean, everybody's influenced by Brooklyn Rock. I mean, it's the direct predecessor. You know? It's the direct predecessor. Self-Magnetic, those biker gangs were really where they started to rock. Many of them were Boricua and other Latinos, and they were dancing to rock. They were dancing to salsa that way, and they were doing it confrontationally. Brooklyn Up Rockers made it even more dynamic because they added jerks and certain freezes. Those freezes just changed because now they do breaking on the floor and you freeze. But the freezes start with the Brooklyn Up Rockers, with jerks and freezes. I mean, so like, and then Boricuas are getting, I mean, it was the nigga twins that said, oh, it was hip. It was when the Puerto Ricans started going on the floors when they changed it all for us. You know, and they said it negatively, but sorry, but that's what defined breaking. You know? And again, breaking is the core because without breaking, there is no reality. There is no reality. There is no unique dances. There is no unique activity. That is the action. And of course, though, it merits that the break beat becomes that, you know? So we got to do our scholarship better, you know? This is why, like, if somebody tells me something, well, you know, I remember, you know, Puerto Ricans, I heard this from Gods, tell me, you know, we wasn't really getting along with the Puerto Ricans back then. So what the fuck does that have to do with it? What does your life have to do with this stuff? And then I hear it from people that didn't do anything in hip hop. So I'm like, yo, your experience with Puerto Ricans as a measure of hip hop, means nothing. Because whatever bad experience you have with them, that got nothing to do with hip hop because you didn't make anything in hip hop. You didn't do anything in hip hop. That's like, listen, my era starts for hip hop to me starts when I become a journalist. And that's 1994. Right? It's 30 years, 1994. And once I start as a journalist, now my experiences in it are real. My experiences in the industry, how I'm treated, how I have to deal with colorism, right? Because remember, that's how I dealt with it. They didn't want Puerto Ricans writing either, right? This was being marketed as a Black American music, right? And it's understandable if you don't know where it's coming from. To sure, look, they sampled mainly funk and soul, jazz, all sparingly, because most of the jazz is sampled. Like even if we go through Diggable Planets and Tribe Called Quest classics, which I love, most of the stuff they mine though is in the jazz funk field. So it's got jazz playing on it, but it's not all pure jazz. It's got an exploration of the funk drum. So it has the chaos of funk that could be misconstrued as jazz improvisation. Slightly different, you know? But it's in the wheelhouse. But it's not like all jazz, mainly jazz. They weren't really just sampling jazz. But you could say then, seems like a Black American music. All the MCs we get are black and this, that. Unless you listen to the cues in the culture, where the culture's coming from, the people from the culture, the history of the culture being expressed in the song and the verses by others like KRS-One and others, right? Then okay. It's a clear-cut case to me. I don't think there's no argument to it, you know? And I think the validity of dismissing Puerto Ricans or even Jamaicans because they don't have as much recorded music is all bull. Okay? It's all bull because the record labels decided that. They literally decided that. Right? I was in rooms there. I was in rooms and I could tell you people from people that are legends outside of hip hop, from Jelly Bean Benitez, right? Who I used to walk with in 1996, though, when I was an intern at All Our Recordings, and take walks with him and listen to his thought process about ideas, or the many interviews I did early on with pre-Miami Fat Joe, other Boricua B-boys, the research that I was privy to in the colleges I was working at. A lot of firsthand, a lot of secondhand, real research that I had my hands on. So now when I speak about my experience, though, it has a better anecdotal validity than just somebody recording music, getting blunted and recording music, handing it in and thinking that they know what the hell was happening with us in the beginning. A lot of the park jams, right? They call it park jams. What were the first park jams before hip hop? In the park, what were the first park jams? They were the congueros y bongoceros playing in the park. And anyone that was really in the Bronx would tell you that. The park jams are from us. Playing the instruments out, playing the drums all night, all day. And a lot of the scholars see a connection with why the B-boy canon is like that. And why is it so conga and bongo based? Remember, it's the Bronx B-boys the Bronx Boys, many say B-Boy stands for, that are deciding what music that they want to play, that they want played, excuse me, to go rock with. This is all stuff to take into account, not anecdotal, not my personal life. All right, so about 10 minutes here. Had to let this off my chest, be definitive for this year out. Okay, let's see here. By the way, guys, it's the last 10 minutes, so I want to give an announcement, though. This has nothing to do with anything um, as far as building or nothing like that. It's just me. If anybody's interested to check me out, um, this Saturday, um, the show that I host with DJ Toshi's Classic Storm Radio, we're doing our 17th year anniversary. All right. And we're doing it at Berlin down in LES, 25 Avenue A. And we're going to have Ed OG, we're going to have Jay Live, we're going to have Cool Keith, Jay Sands, Tara Van Poo, a lot of other people. And it's only $15 at the door. It's worth it. It helps us keep continuing to do what we do. It celebrates what we do. But I'm also saying it because, you got the guy Jay Live performing, one of the great 5% MCs, one of the great MCs, and producers, DJs, triple threats of all time. But also this Saturday is my born day. So it's the first time I do a show where it's links up with my born day. So if you guys can make it out, you know what I'm saying? Classic Storm Radio, 17 years. I've been with Toshi for about half that, 8-9 years. But, I got to count them again, but it's definitely half. You know what I mean? But, come through. And, it's a great time. It's a great time. A lot of great MCs will be there, everything. And then, and have a little bit of fun. Also, too, if you're interested, I'm also doing this very interesting seminar, right? It's in Brooklyn, though. I got to get I always forget the address because they don't put it on the flyer. I don't know why they don't put it on the flyer. But it's in Brooklyn, though. It's in, if you're interested, let me know and I'll give you the details. But it's in Brooklyn. I'm moderating a panel. And the panel discussion is going to be about mental health as a musician, as a creator, as a creative musician, and it's something that I've dealt with recently, but also directly as a musician, as a recording artist now, but then also with all the recording artists, the hundreds of recording artists that I've built with and made relationships with over the years and documented. So it's going to be an interesting panel about mental health and creating, music and other things, just be creating. So it's going to be really interesting. And that's during the daytime. So it's during the daytime hours. Peace, God. That's during the daytime hours. So if you're interested in checking that out, I don't know the admission, but it's not too much either. Maybe it's in the 15 range too, So this weekend I'll be doing those two things, Saturday and Sunday. So if you just want to celebrate the born day with me, I'll be at the Classic Storm Radio anniversary that night. It's only 7:30 to 10:30. So, we end at 11. By 11, the place is shut down. You know what I mean? So you get there on time, you're going to see some good performances. You know what I mean? If not, the bill, if we would have went to, like, sometimes we go to 2, 3 a.m., the bill would have been extensive. But now we just get longer sets from really great. Ed OG, who has great albums still this year. Jay Live, Jay Sands, Cool Keith, Oh, the great. That's the God too. I build with the God. So that's That's a student. That's my student. You know what I mean? That's the God. He's really, really building. And he's a great MC. Great MC. You know what I'm saying? Um, if that's what you're stuck listening to, then you're good. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, and there's a lot of gods, you know, Substance 810, that's the God. That's my student too. Oh, the Great, Infinite Mind, King Kamal. It's a lot of guys out there rapping really great. Oh, 07, you know what I'm saying? So Kasim Allah, you know, this year had a lot of great works by 5%ers. Raz Fresco, Estinac, Al Divino. These are all 5%ers that released work this year. You know what I mean? And I know I'm missing people. I know I'm missing people. Damn it. But you know, get into the culture. But yo, I'll be out there. If you forget, just email me, Sunez97 at Gmail, Sunez97 at gmail.com. Text me if you can. I'll give you know, or go to my Instagram, Sunez. You can see all the flyers and all that good stuff, you know. But until next week, prepare. Let me know. I really want to know what great things you guys have done this year. Let me know your achievements. We'll share our achievements. And we'll talk about planning and building. And listen, if you're going to do the holidays, do them right and exacto. Educate who you can. You know what I mean? Don't get lost being a savage, you know, but also, you know, enjoy yourself. You know, enjoy yourself because during this time of year, though, it is one of renewal. No matter what, it's a time of renewal and recharging and all of that. And that is not something that Christmas owns. It is something that they have co-opted and that they have appropriated. Remember that. All right. So with that said, I'm going to say peace to everyone. And I'll see you next week for our last class of 2024. Peace.